Jerry Gilroy and Johnny with you as ever. It's our first time back in harness, so it's still not too late.
It's just not true as ever, because I mean we haven't been together for ages.
Well, in studio, I don't want to bring it up, but you didn't show up for about a month, so now you're hobbled in and you're welcome, and a happy new year to you.
Well, that's not true. I did miss a trip to Gavin Cromwell's, but
well, that wasn't the only one, but there were several Fridays in here where it got a little bit lonely, Johnny.
Well, it's great to be back. And hopefully we'll have people back in the studio soon as well for the banter.
And a happy new year to you, Johnny.
Same to yourself.
What are your racing ambitions for the year?
I think
sorry. One other thing. You signed me up for an ownership thing last week that I was here for. Yeah.
For Charlie Carter's horse, How You Bud. Yeah, might be a little bit outside of our budget, but yeah, Charlie dropped me proverbial brown envelopes for all my promotion of Charlie Carter Horse Racing Inc. But no, it was good to see somebody successful at a small level, and the fact that he bought the dam as a foal and she's produced all these winners, and then How You Bud, and to think then that this 2-year-old boy walking the park, he's in a very good place at the moment, and that's just all from one dam, like, you know, that he bought as a foal for Buttons, like, so lovely story. And
are they? So I didn't hear the start of it. Are they flat horses or jumps?
All jumps. So Marie's Benefit, I think, was the other one. She won a load of races, and then How You Bud, who's worth a lot of money, and he's 2 more on the ground as well, the 2-year-old and one other. And walking the park is obviously the sire, like the Mo Salah of like pedigrees at the moment, and it's just very, very exciting. And he sent a photo that we were able to show on air as well, which is quite cool, of the 2-year-old, lovely looking horse, and thought I'd get him to, you know, go into the whole Brian Cody thing all these years later a bit more, but he was kind of more, I think, happier to talk racing, I think.
Well, fair enough. If anybody wants to leave a comment, you can WhatsApp the show when we're live on Friday afternoon on 085 7180 7180 or is it 089? It's been a while since I've been here.
53106.
Oh, exactly. That's it. That's the text number this evening. Or of course, you can leave a comment on the YouTube stream. Friday Night Racing on Off the Ball is brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie in advance of you heading to the racetrack for all your information. Or of course, you can follow the Twitter account at HRI Racing for updates, and the hashtag is every racing moment. Our guest this week is Ross Sullivan, who I'm delighted to say joins us now. Ross, good afternoon to you. How are you getting on?
Hi Ger, how you doing? Hi Johnny, how are you getting on, Ross? Happy New Year.
And to you. I was just looking back. It's almost exactly 3 years since you were in studio with us, and we've all changed. We all look a little bit older, I have to say. There's a bit more grey around.
Yeah. I'm definitely a lot greyer anyway, one thing for sure.
It's been a pretty eventful 3 years. One of the big conversations we had at that stage was the quality of the ground being good almost persistently, and how this might have an impact on purchasing. But we'll get into that a little bit later if we have time. In the meantime, you've had a career year last year. So how are you feeling about what's coming for the next 12 months?
Yeah, we've had a great year. Yeah, we had a super year. Things have got bigger and better. They kept growing, and really looking forward to this year. We've the horses just week in, week out last year. Plenty of winners, good season. It seems to have a nice bunch for this year as well. So it's grown and grown and grown, and if we can, the hardest thing is to try and repeat last year, and if we can do that now, I'll be very happy.
Can you pinpoint something over the last couple of years where there was a bit of a turning point for you, or a hinge moment or anything?
Probably not. I think just head down, roll up the sleeves, get stuck in, trying to improve it all the time. Like I said, obviously it's 4 years since we were in the new yard that we moved to the purpose-built yard we built, and I suppose maybe the first year or a year and a half was a settling in period and getting used to the whole place. Maybe you were doing too much or not doing enough, and getting used to the facilities that are here. And I suppose it kind of it's got better, like you said, every year. Nicer horses, and just a nicer bunch of horses. I suppose. And this show probably it just got better and better this year. I suppose it kicked off really with Rocky Sky winning the listed race in Navan, and from that kind of week on, it just seemed to snowball all year round, and the horses just kept running well. They're healthy and they're well, and like I said, it's trying to repeat that now, and hopefully it'll continue.
You had a lot of success with young horses as well. That was the other thing that seems to have landed for you as well. So that's like a great sign. And it's always very, very interesting in any of the trainers that we talk to, particularly the dual purpose ones, about what the difference is and why you become dual purpose. And I know it's really just a business decision, but can you talk to us a bit about that? Because I know that one of your big successes was a horse that was a flat horse that turned into a jumps horse.
Yeah, I suppose that's it. Like it's the way a lot of guys have gone gone over the last couple of years. Like I said, you're not solely one definite sort of whether you're a national hunt or flat. We mixed it. I suppose initially when we started off, my heart would have been in the jump racing, because that's where the background I came from, coming from Jessica Harrington's when she was one of the leading national hunt trainers at the time. And I suppose we would have started off going down that road. It was for no particular reason that it changed. Maybe I think my first flat horse was the Sprinter Dunar Prince, and we had good fun with him, and we kind of learned from him, and it gradually over the last couple of years it's been 50-50 probably between jumps and flat, with success on both sides. But yeah, like I said, it definitely is a big help when you can do both. If you're solely a flat trainer, well, not so much the national hunt where it goes all year round, but definitely the flat season where it really quietens down in the winter time. Okay, you do have the dog, but like you said, it gets to the stage where you're trying to carry staff for the winter, trying to hopefully keep everything ticking along. A lot of your summer horses that have been running all year round go out in their breaks, and you're just trying to carry the whole thing through. Yeah, like I said, as the year goes on, it's like I said, it's trying to keep everything ticking over, keep the business running, like I said, and be able to pay the wages. So to have both sides of it is a big help, big advantage, and that's something that we've done, and it seems to be working well. And yeah, it's like I say, a lot of younger guys that are training at the minute, even the older guys are definitely mixing it up between both, and it makes business sense. It makes good business sense.
Ireland's a bit unique, I'd say, Ross, nearly in that regard. If you look at, like you mentioned, Jessica Harrington and Joseph O'Brien, and you think then Gavin Cromwell winning a champion hurdle, and then having a winner at Longchamp, and having a winner in the Queen Mary, and like it's almost as if it's just become a thing now that's normal. Whereas if you look at other jurisdictions, I imagine this really isn't normal at all.
We might have lost you there, Ross, did we?
I have you there now, lads.
Yeah. Johnny was just making the point that Ireland's a bit unique like this.
Like, I wouldn't know to say, like, necessarily in France that it's like in the States. I'm sure this is not normal at all. Even if you look at Britain, you don't really have trainers necessarily trying to target, like, as I mentioned, Gavin, Jesse, and Joseph O'Brien. It seems to have become quite normal in Ireland anyway.
Yeah, definitely so. And like you said, like Gavin Cromwell and Jesse done a great job of it. I don't know why it's like that. Like I said, in America you have solely flat trainers. In England you definitely have, a definition between the two. Like I said, and lots of trainers are doing really well with both sides of it. And to me personally, it's a good challenge. I like both sides of it. Like I said, people try and define you whether one or the other. But I think a challenge of training a racehorse is, whether it's a flat horse or a jump horse, the challenge is there. And for me, I love the challenge of both. I like I said, it's definitely different, and it's different the way you train them. But it's a challenge either way, no matter whether it is. And to me, I like that.
What's the difference?
So I suppose with the national hunt horses, especially the young national hunt horses, they take plenty of time. Like I said, ideally, like I said, a young national hunt horse, whether we bought it, the sales, it's changed so much over the last couple of years, with the guys now buying the pint of pint guys now buying the young national hunt horses and producing them to win pint of pints. And like the business model has changed so much. I suppose years ago that wasn't there, and you would have to buy a national hunt horse at sales, and it would go through the whole process, which people still do, buying them as a 3-year-old, breaking them, getting them going. But a national hunt horse certainly takes a long time. He said you could be easily waiting, a year, or even further, 15 months, 16 months for them to come through. The thing with that is you want to be very patient, but you could come across a little gem and it could work out. The difference with the flat is it's quicker. Obviously, they take less work. It's obviously just the injury side of things as well. Horses with the jumping can pick up knocks, cuts, bangs. With the flat, you've less risk of that. but then you said I said a lot of people are massive National Hunt followers. So the training of both of them, I suppose, like I said, with us, the flat horse does take less of the endurance work, probably more of the speed work, but there is certainly a challenge in both of them.
Like, I don't know, is there a correct way to train National Hunt horses? Or, like, you know, you look at the success John Ryan has had this year, and, like, I can't get my head around the way he runs his horses. He runs them nearly every second week, if not every second day. I mean, he had a horse down to run twice last weekend. I think one over fences, one over hurdles. And, you know, I'd be looking at the Racing Post doing spotlights and be like, I can't figure out how this horse been campaigned, but his horses seem to hold their form, and by all accounts he gallops them, I think, over further than the average trainer. Like, is there a bunch of trainers, like the top trainers? You did a very interesting article with interview with Ronan Groom in the field about you were saying it's a bit like Pep Guardiola and Klopp, like having chats about how they train their specimens themselves. In the National Hunt game, trainers chat away and you can pick up pieces of advice, but, like, is there a right way, is there a wrong way? Some, like, you look at John Ox in one extreme and John Ryan in the other.
Yeah, no, that's the uniqueness of it. Like, it's such an amazing thing. Like I said, everyone in Ireland, like, it's different. Like you say, you go to America, a lot of trainers train on the track at their barn. You know, it's the same facilities. It's pretty much the same thing. A lot of times in Newmarket, we went there this year to the sales, and I went for a walk over to look at the horses. There's a big hill, Warren Hill. Most of them do 2 canters up the hill. All the trainers do the exact same thing. I was like, so what's the difference? The difference is probably getting the horse. Whereas in Ireland, it's very unique. Okay, you do have the training centre like the Curragh, but the majority of trainers train on their own gallops, and they're all different types of gallops, which is unbelievable. Like Gordon Elliott, like I said, his big round sand, Wexford sand gallops, and Willie Mullins, they all get different results. They all get loads of good results and loads of winners. And like I said, then you go down to John Ryan, who wouldn't have the same facilities, but is having an unbelievable season. And it's the uniqueness of it, which is it's great to see. And it makes it kind of even more of a challenge, and it makes, like I said, whether it be flat gallops, hill gallops, England, majority of them use the hill. I suppose they follow whatever was the success behind them, like St Martin Pipe over the years, followed on by Paul Nicholls. A lot of them train up the hill gallops. And in Ireland, then you have the flat round gallops like Willie Gordon, Gavin Cromwell. All them have proved that they don't need the hill; they can get the winners on the flat, on the round gallop. So it's unreal. It's brilliant because it creates conversation. It like I said, everyone probably has a different way, a different style of doing it, and that's what probably brings even a better light to it. Like I said, I've often gone down. We've had a look at Willie's, we've had a look at Gordon's. You try and bring a little bit back from those places of what they're doing, and you try and fit it into what you have of your own facilities. Like there's no point you going down to a trainer with a big hill gallop and you're going back home to your round gallop because you can't replicate it. But you try and bring back little bits and pieces, little ideas, and improve what you have at home by looking at it. Like I did say that last week in the Irish Field, like most of those trainers are really welcoming. You wouldn't have it anywhere else. If I ring Gavin Cromwell in the morning and say, hey, listen, there's any chance I can pop in and have a look there Saturday morning, watch the horses going around, Gavin will turn around and say, no problem, call in. He said Gordon is the same. Like it is, like I said, the national, especially the National Hunt side of things in Ireland, like there is a great community spirit, and everybody knows how tough it is, how hard it is to find a nice horse, and to when you do find a nice horse, to hang on to them. That you know that an offer doesn't come in to sell them, and like there is, everyone knows that it's hard work. People have to get stuck in, and I think there's a kind of a appreciation kind of between all the trainers that they know like how tough it is, but also that we're all in it together, and people like, it's great to see it, that it happens a lot in Ireland where you can call in to see a place and study it and learn from it and try and bring that bit home to improve yourself.
While the place is obviously important, it's the people who are making the decisions about how hard they're going to work a horse and when they're going to work a horse and how close to a race they think the fitness is going to come. That's the bit that is unique and individual, I suspect, to each of the trainers. Some of them, I mean, they probably all have fairly similar, and it's very similar to what you would hear about human athletes as well. Is there anything in that you've kind of changed and altered over the years yourself?
No, just like I said, most horses are individuals, and like you said, it all really depends on the horse. Like you said, they all can't. Like you said, you have to create a system that works, but you also have to train the individual. And like you said, you could have a light little filly. It just doesn't take as much as the big gross horse, the big 16-3 horse, big heavy national owned horse. You could have a light filly. She might be a jumper as well, but she just mightn't take the galloping. So I think the key to it is, I think, train them as much as you have in your system and it all fitting in so that the system works. A lot of it is also training the individual and good staff around you. I think building a team around you is probably a huge part of it as well. We're lucky now, over the last couple of years, we have a great team with us, and I think they all kind of understand, like you said, the system and have seen the results this year, and they know, like I said, how the whole thing works, and they're mad keen for more success. I think a lot of it is, like I said, you hear about Willies and Gordons and Gavins and all of that, but it's the big team that's around them, and that has to be a huge thing as well. As much as it's the trainer, it's definitely the team that buys into it and helps the whole thing move along and build from it, like I said. And like I said, all horses are all individuals. Like I said, they're very much personalities, like people. Like you said, you have the happy horse, the grumpy horse, the sad horse, the sore horse, and you kind of have to figure them out what way they are, and then try and get the best out of them the way you can do it. I suppose it's trial and error, and the more you do it, it's practice. It's the more you do of it. Probably, hopefully, you're hoping you won't. If you do make a mistake, you go, well, the mistake is made. I just don't want to do it again. I think that's the thing, and it's kind of it's learning all the time. Like I said, I thought maybe when I started this properly, maybe, okay, we're doing it the last maybe 10 years, but properly since the last 5 years. And I thought, like you said, I had a bit of an idea. I said, well, I know exactly what we're doing here. But when I look back at it now, I didn't have a clue. It's only over the last, like I said, trial and error, building it up. And I'd say it's the same for most guys. Like I said, it doesn't happen overnight. You have to keep working at it, being positive. Like you said, the dream is there. You're always thinking of, like, when I get a phone call rings and an owner rings and they send a horse, you're always hoping this could be the star. This could be the one that you never know what could happen. This could be the one that could put you up in lights. And it's really, like I said, it's moving along, trying to improve all the time. And like I said it in the interview the other day, like Gordon, Henry, Willie, even Gavin, none of them started out big. Like I said, like I said the other day, like Henry, I remember when I was working for Jessica Harrington, I was riding a few pointers for Henry. Now, Davy Russell was still average. This is going back probably the last 20 years. Henry was a small scale, 25 horses. Davy Russell was probably riding most of his pointers. And I went down one day a week. He was riding out himself. He had a grass hill gallop that now I believe is a wood chip. I haven't been down since. And he was, doing the same as what some of us are doing now, head down, trying to improve the system. This was a couple of years before Alan Potts arrived on the scene. And he had a small little sand gallop, and he had that grass hill gallop, and he was just tipping away. He was trading. He was doing, producing a horse to win a point to sell him, to keep the business going. And then all of a sudden, he just met Alan Potts, and the thing just clicked, and Alan Potts was able to supply him with ammunition. The whole thing started to grow. A good few years and then plenty of success, and obviously he had to prove it. When he got the ammunition, he proved he was well able to do the job. And then when Alan Potts moved on, Jigginstown stepped in, and the thing has just grown and grown and grown. And I'm sure Henry has got better and better and better, and probably learned from things he did over the last good few years. And then Gordon the same. Like I said the other day, Gordon, I remember going up to him. There was a couple of guys under the filly that I knew well. They had a point filly. Gordon, it was just, he had a small yard until Cock. I think he had maybe 15 or 20 horses. He was riding out himself. He had very little staff. Went up to ride this filly. Gordon schooled her down over. I schooled the filly. Gordon gave me a lead on a lead horse down over the fences. And Katie often tells the story about Ruby when he was starting out, and Willie driving the Jeep and trailer, and he pulled into the yard to collect Ruby to go off to ride a horse for him in the bumper. So what I take from that is, like, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a lot of hard work. They all started small. Yeah, they are superpowers now, and they're brilliant trainers, but they all started off very small, and you have to take that attitude for going with it, rather than any other attitude that it's too hard, because if you go the other way, you have to be positive. You have to have positive thinking about it. You have to be kind of give it a go, and if it hopefully it'll click. Hopefully someday.
Oh, just having a bit of trouble with the line there.
It's not like
It has to be positive. You know, it has to. You have to take that thing from what those guys have started out from and the way it's grown. You know, so that's the way I look at it. And like I said, it's and enjoy what you do.
Yeah,
you know, which we love doing it. Like we said, like whether we have. Yeah, you know, you have to, like, I love bounce out of bed in the morning. Every day is a challenge. There's plenty of ups and downs. Okay, you have frustrating days, but I wouldn't change it for the world. And like I said, we've a relatively small yard. I suppose we have 40 horses. And on this scale, or these days now, it's probably on a small scale, but we love it, absolutely love it, and it's something I wouldn't change a bit of it.
Can I ask a question about the ammunition? Right, is there a prototype horse that you look for that you think you're best at training, or actually is the other alternative? You can go and pick horses that other people might not necessarily be that interested in because you see value in a small horse or in a particularly big horse or something that's slightly unusual about this horse. Do you think actually, you know, I see enough in this?
Budget is everything, I suppose, and our budget. You know, we were lucky enough. We have a couple of we've good owners, all keen to have success, and all have you know, they all have a budget. It wouldn't be huge, but we source the horses to what we can with the budget, and you're all the time trying to, you know, like I said, it's being able to fit that horse into your budget and hope. And we bought a couple of horses, the Horse and Training Sales, the Newmarket. Now recently, you're hoping that you can, you know, squeeze out a little bit of improvement in them, and hopefully you see that horse. We've been lucky over the last couple of years, from all different types of budgets, like that filly C-Sections who won the listed race for us this year.
That's a good story as well, isn't it? Like, Katie Botter's a yearling. She cost $5,000. She has a goodish pedigree, but she wasn't the biggest of sizes at a yearling. Just took a chance on her because of her pedigree, and we broke her, got her going, and ran her a couple times as a 2-year-old. She was third over a maiden, over a mile in a maiden as a 2-year-old, and then has been so consistent this year. We, you know, won on the flat. Was placed a good few times, and then we decided to go jumping with her. It's not all about size either in that, like, you know, you don't, a lot of hurdlers aren't that big as well, like.
No. Without a doubt, Johnny, like, you're 100%, like, it's all about whether they like it or not. Like, jumping is everything, and like, whether a horse likes jumping or not, they have to, like I said, you can often get a horse in the flat rated in the 90s, high 90s, and you said, God, this lad, he's been placed over, he's won over 1.25 miles, 1.5 miles, and you can get a horse like this filly who's in the high 60s. But if the horse in the high 60s loves jumping and the horse in the 90s doesn't like jumping, also that can switch around very much. Like I said, it can flip like that. You could end up being the high rated 60s or 70s horse can be a far superior horse over jumps than the horse in the 90s that actually just doesn't like jumping. And as much as that's the risk and the gamble that's involved in it, and as much as you again, no one has a crystal ball. That's the great thing about this. Like I said, it's and the challenge involved. You just don't know.
Katie's done well, but like, is there? Do some people go to the sales and believe that they can see something that others just can't see in a horse, that just the way he or she walks or something about the physicality, like because the beauty of this is that it's not it's like going into the transfer market. There has to be a negative somewhere, otherwise it wouldn't be 13 grand, if you know what I mean.
Princess Zoe was bandy-legged, wasn't she?
Yeah, like, so there's
that's the great thing about it, is that the Princess Zoe story, or there's loads of stories like it. Like I said, the Ronald Pump story bought for £1,000, and we could name out the loads of different instances, and that's what makes it great. That's because if it was the other way, if it was what the most expensive one was, like I said, it wouldn't be. You know, a lot of people would lose interest. Especially in the national hunt side of things, you just don't know what can happen. It's great that is there. Like you said, you can that. Like you said, no one has a crystal ball. A lot of people think that they might be able to see a star, but it's a lot of luck. It's okay. You go to the sales, you have a look at the physical, and you have a look at what the form is, and you hope, like you said, that first of all you can afford them, whatever's in your budget, and then you just take a chance and hope it clicks. And find out a little bit of information from especially the horse and training sales. If you can get a little information from the yards, that's key. That's, like I said, if you know someone and get that information, that this horse obviously is 100% sound and looks like there is improvement in him, that maybe he had a hiccup along the way.
On C sessions, right? So the decision to go jumping, was it obvious? Was there a conversation? How did that come about, for example?
Well, she stayed very well on the flat. She ran over 1.5 miles and also over 1.6 miles. She was fourth. So we definitely thought trip was not going to be no problem. She was third, like I said, as a 2-year-old over a mile. So trip wasn't another problem. It was all about whether she liked jumping or not. So when we started schooling her, she took to it very easy. And I kind of said, great. Like I said, if we knew the trip wasn't going to be a problem and she liked jumping. And you kind of know, looking at them, no matter what, it would be great if there was a schooling ring in the middle of Newmarket at the horse and train sales and you were allowed to let them in and run around loose, because you'd know straight away. You would know if they like it or not. She just went down to them. She was forward going. She attacked them, took them well, and we kind of thought that, this filly, no matter what, is definitely going to run very respectably in her 3-year-old hurdles career.
Would you tend to school most of your flat horses on the off chance that one of them, like, is that something that you would just do as a matter of course to see, well, could any of these be, what's the story with these? Because it sounded like she was already a decent flat horse.
Yeah.
Sorry, so you would do this with other horses?
Yes, I have you now,
Yeah, sorry, we're back in.
Yeah, have you now. The schooling is actually even great for a flat horse, just to change his mind, even if you're not going jumping, just popping a few poles. We've done it even with sprinters that that definitely won't be going jumping, but just to pop a few poles, change their mind. So the jumping can, like I said, it just changes their mind. It makes life a bit more interesting. They might have got a little bit bored in the flat and to go jumping, but the likes of the ones that definitely get a trip, if they take to it, it does. Like I said, if they get 1.25 miles plus 1.5 miles, then there is a great chance they can go jumping, and that's where. Yeah. My
last question on this then is a 3-year-old filly that you're going jumping with, is that actually a little bit early generally, or for if C Sessions had been born as a national hunt horse and trained as just a national hunt horse, might she have been 4 before she was running anyway? Like, she
just didn't have the size for.
Were you able to accelerate her career?
Yeah.
Okay, right.
That's the beauty of going off the flat as well. Like, in fairness, that you can. The juvenile hurdles aren't for everyone, but it was the obvious thing for her, I guess, for us.
Yeah, and like I said, she didn't have the size. She was always going to be a little bit earlier. Sometimes those big raw horses take a little bit of time. She was quite small, quite compact, took her training well early, so she did, time wasn't needed on her side, and she just took to the jump and she just loved it. So we started her off in Punchestown in that 3-year-old hurdle, and she ran a cracker. She was very lucky at the first. A horse fell in front of her and she actually jumped on a horse on the ground, and just got beat on the line, came home really well, finishing second. And at that stage then Katie still owned her, but we were hoping to sell her, and we got her sold to stay in the yard, which was great, because sometimes you have to sell them and they have to leave the yard. Again, it's all part of the business, just to keep things moving and keep the business going. But lucky enough, we were able to find an owner, a guy that was able to buy her and keep her in the yard. And then she went on and she was second to Phil Dore in Down Royal. Ran a good race, was well beaten, but he looks the real deal, that guy. He looks like he's going to get to the top, and she ran well, maybe a little bit keen on soft ground. So we decided then to bring her to Liverpool, and mainly, there was a race that she was going to get a little bit of black type, and her owner was from the north of England, so it all kind of tied in well. He was going to have a day out in Liverpool at Aintree. It was the Beecher meeting, which was the first week in December, and he was looking forward to it, and we said we'd roll the dice, hopefully to finish third, get a bit of black type. It's a race that Gavin Cromwell, it's a fillies listed race for 3-year-olds. It rules, it's fillies only, which is a big help. And like I said, it's a race that Gavin Cromwell had won in the past, twice, I think. And we said we'd give it a go. There was plenty of Irish horses in it, and it was unreal. The guy that owns her, Andy, with Stuart Robinson and Andy own her together. And Andy, big Man United fan, himself and another guy, Mark, we headed over on the day, but he suggested we stay and go to. He was going to bring us to Old Trafford the next day, and I was going, I hope this filly runs well, because it could be a long weekend if this filly doesn't run well, because we were there for the 2 days. But look, it was brilliant. It was like I said, as a Carlsberg ads don't do weekends, but this definitely was a weekend, because we arrived over on the day. It was a dirty, wet day, but Andy had brought up 10 friends, a couple of guys from London. We had a table at the races. She won. The guys went mad. We had a great night, day and night. And the next day we stayed locally, and the next day we went to Old Trafford, which I had followed United a good bit more so when I was younger, back to the 90s and the Cantona days and all them, and more so when I was younger. But we went. He had great seats at Old Trafford. We went for the next day, and we were still reminiscing about the day and the night before, and it was a great weekend. So, and she's still thriving. She worked this morning. She worked really well. The dream is to go to Cheltenham in March. Andy has gone with his mates for the last. He's had flat horses, but this was his first jumper. He's gone to Cheltenham for the last 20 years. He's never had a runner there, apart from last year when he couldn't go. And that's the dream, is to get to. Yeah, that's it. We've been talking about Cheltenham since she won an Aintree, and it's hopefully she'll get in. She's in the Fred Winter is the ideal race for her, the handicap for 4-year-olds only, and hopefully we get her run. We get in at the bottom maybe, and he said it's where she worked this morning. She's going to work again next Friday. She's going to run maybe the end of the month, and that'll leave us maybe 6 weeks away from Cheltenham. So the dream is to get to Cheltenham.
How do you plot that course? Yeah, so it's a run in between, kind of at the midpoint almost.
Pretty much. She's a light frame filly. She took a lot of racing all year, so you're kind of conscious not to go overdo it. And so we avoided Christmas. We could have ran in something at Christmas. There was plenty of options, you know. It was, but it was just a choice. We said, listen, we kind of try and leave her fresh. There is a race now in 3 weeks' time. We're going to go for, and that'll leave us just kind of with a 5 to 6 week break, and hopefully get into the Fred Winter. It's not a gimme. It's not a given that we're going to get in.
You won a listed race already. You have to get in. No bother.
You know, when you're talking to Sandy, like we're around the one. We wouldn't have, if we're around the 120 marker at the minute, as in the handicap mark. We would get £5 or £6 to get over. So we're 125, 126.
Despite the fact that horse won subsequently and all that.
Yeah, no, that'll help. That'll definitely help. That'll give us a little squeeze up. Last year we would have got in. The year before we wouldn't have got in. So
I don't know if the horse population is there, to be honest, Ross. Maybe I'm wrong, but
I hope you're right.
Off the top of my head, the Triumph even. I mean, I didn't earn the Triumph as well. I don't think the Triumph had a massive field last year at all, and you know, I
wonder, was that to do with COVID though?
Probably was. There's serious issues in Britain with horse population in general at the moment. So and like
serious,
well, like you saw even this week on the all weather. I mean, there are 3-runner race and like 3-runner, 4 and a 5-runner races. Serious issues. That's also kind of a consequence of you know, the prize situation in Britain. But I'd be very hopeful anyway that you'd get into that, if not.
And that's what, and like I said, hopefully, like I said, she'd be entered in that. We'll stick her in a couple of other little races as well. But the ideal race really is the Fred Winter for her. So fingers crossed we get there.
It's an incredible story when you think about it, and the way you've laid it out. But again, it's the decision that you made ages and ages ago to be a dual-purpose trainer, finding a really fast flat horse that also works over. It's not that it's destiny; it's that you worked really hard to make sure that you understood exactly what the skill set required from the horse to be able to do this was.
Yeah, and it could have worked the other way. You could have easily had this filly, and she didn't like jumping, but you know, and she cost $5,000. She wasn't expensive at all. She was chancy money.
A good stallion as well, like.
Yeah, by a good stallion out of a mare that has bred 2 winners and was listed placed. She had a lovely pedigree. She just was small. She wasn't pretty. And
that was kind of the question I was asking earlier about the prototype horse. Are you guys happy to take those punts on the small, unpretty horses, thinking actually, you know what, there's value here because other people either they don't have the time or the patience to look into this. They want the sure thing.
Yeah. You're all the time looking at that because that's what you're like. Again, it goes back to budget. Like you said, you'd love to have a budget to go to those Cheltenham sales and be able to buy the winning 4-year-old of this weekend or next weekend and be able to buy one of them. But you said your budget doesn't allow you to do that, so you have to kind of sift through them. Like I said, whether it be a horse and training sales or hopefully looking at a yearling sale, maybe Katie does be trying to buy her breezes, but often she'd be there and she'd come across a horse like her with a staying pedigree, not buying her to breeze, but buying her that maybe she could run the flat, we could find an owner for her, and that hopefully then potentially then Noel Meade's done it successfully in the last couple of years, that you buy them, they have a little bit of staying in their pedigree, and they can potentially then go jumping.
Totally,
so
yeah.
So it's just trying to find a little gap in the market that you can get into and can work for you, and that's kind of it.
As well as like off the ball and Shells, like linked up today. Wes Houlihan was being linked with the move back to Shells. Like there's nothing about looking at Wes Houlihan that suggests he should be a good footballer. He's not particularly quick. He's no physicality really at all. He's small, yet he's one of the most talented footballers Ireland's ever produced. Messi is probably the best footballer ever. He's very small. It's not as simple as all the physical guys do best. Like
no.
And that's the
no.
beauty
It's
of
all
it.
about it. Without a doubt, it's all about heart in a horse. Like you said, Willie could have the smallest little fillies, but they're dangerous to lep and they're really good horses. Like you said, it's not okay. It can help to buy the physical if you have the budget, but you have to think outside the box when you don't have the budget. And it's taking a chance on something like this. Filly had a good pedigree. She wasn't expensive. She walked straight. Who's to say if she made 7 or 8 or 9 grand, Katie would have said, she was there for chance money. I take a chance on it. She would have walked away.
It's a big difference in 8 grand and 5 grand, like.
Without a doubt, you just go, listen, I'll leave it. I'll walk away from it. It's the case of, just right place, right time. And you hear all those stories in racing. Like you said, it's whether, again, you go down to a trainer's yard and, you're given the choice of 3 horses, you pick one, you walk away and leave a future national horse behind you.
I think Charlie Carter I'm paraphrasing here, but I think the dam Barragal maybe was the name of it, I forget the name of it now, but the dam of the horse that have all won and all that, Howie Budd and all that, I think he just couldn't sell her, so he ended up training her, and that often is the case, that you can't, like, he bought her to there's an awful lot of luck involved with things, but like what I love about it in racing, Ross, is every horse has a story, and the story is invariably quite interesting in terms of who the horse relates to, how he or she was acquired, his or her characteristics. Like there's just so much going on. Like, I mean, if horses were in social media, like, they'd be a lot more interesting than humans,
yeah, without a doubt, and that's what makes the great challenge there, and that's what gives everyone hope. And like I said, as I said before, if it was all about money and all about trying to, if it was so simple, there wouldn't be the challenge there, and then people wouldn't get into it. Like I said, there's always the story, the look of something coming along, whether it's the Sky Ace or anything like that. Those stories are brilliant, and they're good for racing, and they're good to be highlighted because it keeps people interested, and it gives that syndicate of guys that are there on a Friday evening mad to get into a horse going, it can be done. You can just get lucky. It's like watching that program on Netflix there, The Dark Horse. Those stories are just brilliant. What was the name of the horse that won the Welsh National? Dark Horse. There's a program on it on Netflix at the minute about the Welsh village. It's brilliant. Yeah, it's about the Welsh village there. There was 30 of them in a syndicate. They got this horse, and he ended up they put him in training with Philip Hobbs. They were all working class people from a mining village in Wales. It's on Netflix at the minute. It's brilliant. They made a film about it recently too, but there's a documentary about it on Netflix, and it's, again, those stories you sit back, and I love watching them because I turn and going, Jesus, it can happen. It can happen to any of us. Like I said, we can find a horse and then we can win a Welsh national or be lucky enough to win an Irish or English national. It just, you need them to keep you going. So they're the stories that everyone wants, and keep the dream alive.
The other thing, I suppose, is that you just get better at placing your horses in races as time goes on, because you just acquire more and more information with each passing year. You just lived. Well, I placed that horse in the wrong race. I placed that horse in the right race, and here's why I did it. That kind of stuff.
You're 100% right. Like I said, there's nothing like trial and error and failing and making mistakes and just realising not to do that again. And it is that. It's definitely a lot to do that, and that's the same with Gordon, Willie Henry, and them. I'm sure they were the same, and it just the practice makes perfect, and then just be lucky to be in the right place at the right time, and the thing just keeps growing, and you have to be positive about it. Like, you have to kind of take the good outlook from it and say this can be done, and let's give this a go, and you can't go around saying poor me or you'll go nowhere.
One last thing I did want to just bring up, we had a good chat about the weather. Obviously Johnny was obsessed with it 3 years ago when you were in last, and the quality of the ground and the fact that the ground is always good. And I know it's an issue, people are already talking about Leopardstown for the Dublin Racing Festival as well. Are you seeing a trend where owners are looking to buy horses and keep horses in training that are good ground horses more than in previous years?
There's definitely a trend there that we had a couple of horses this year, like Favourite Logic, who was actually a summer horse. He won a couple of races during the summer, and he actually ended up running right up till the middle of December. Benefit running another horse. I have seen it. Definitely, there is a trend. To say that the owners are saying to me, could they buy a good ground horse? Probably not. They're still looking. Everyone's still looking to buy the big winter national hunt horse. But yeah, it's definitely, the conversation was had 3 years ago, and it hasn't changed. It's definitely more so. We had good ground right up till the middle of December, and who's to say, like you said, okay, we had a serious rain over Christmas, but and especially Christmas Day, like I don't think there was anywhere in Ireland that escaped, but we needed it badly, and Leopardstown needed it, everyone needed it, and we are probably looking at drier times. At the minute, it hasn't changed the profile of the horse. At the minute, I said it's still the Winter National Hunt horse is still being bought, and I haven't had an owner say anything about me about that yet. But it's definitely there. It's definitely an issue. Yeah.
This is our niche, Johnny.
I think there was a survey recently of what Irish voters were most energised by, and it was kind of housing and health. But like climate change is. It's going to be so catastrophic. But on the level of Ireland, it doesn't rain in Dublin at all anymore. Like Leopardstown, it does not rain in Dublin at all anymore. And then when it does rain, it's biblical for a day, like you say at Christmas. Yeah. But in all seriousness, and if you want to talk about that from a racing perspective, you can't really plan that much anymore, because like the chase ground and the bumper conditions, even at Leopardstown at Christmas, some people thought it was too quick. This is in December. Like, this is Ireland in December. Navan in December was good ground. And so, like, this is what, as Ger said, Ross, like, they're talking about, getting it right for, and I've sympathy for Leopardstown, because you shouldn't have to be talking about watering in December or February, but that's the way it's going. Ireland is getting far drier, and when it's wet, it's flash flooding, and this will have ramifications, I think, for the purchase of horses, because you can't even rely now on how much proper winter ground have we actually had this season?
Very little, and I do agree with you. I think as much as cost is going to come into it, tracks are probably going to have to adjust as well. I see, like I said, Leopardstown on the Winter Racing Festival are watering, and obviously have brought in a bunch of guys, or a specialised crew to assess this, and they're going to do little and often, was the statement we all read about the ground. And like I said, they're aware of it, which is probably the most important thing. And obviously we've had voices from the top trainers saying that, like you said, that they won't run unless this ground is right. So at least we're a month away now, and there is plenty of notice. So they like I said, it's for them to get it right now. No one's going to complain if it's very soft this time of the year, but they will complain if it's good. So hopefully it will work. Tracks are probably going to have to adjust. Cost is going to be a big factor, but it's going to have to go that way, or you're going to have to, like you said, Punchestown do a great job when it comes to April time. They definitely get a lot of runners and so it's just going to be up to the tracks to try and be aware of it. And it is a very hard job. I'm not saying, like I said, where it's clerk of course and everything, it is a very hard job, but it is going to become definitely an issue over the next couple of years.
You have a couple of runners this weekend as well, by the same token, and am I right? Am I right?
Yeah, by the same token runs in the first tomorrow. He's a horse that won 4 races for us, probably going chasing a little bit later than what he should have done, but jumps fences well, schooled very well last week over fences. Conor O rides him, knows him, he's won on him. Only little issue about him, I would fancy him big time if it was left-handed. He's won all his races left-handed, does favour going left-handed, but there was no race for him, so he has to run right-handed tomorrow. It's a 2-mile rated beginner's chase, which means it's not for horses rated 116 or less. He's rated 113, so he's bang on the money. He doesn't have to take on the big guns of Willie or Gordon or Henry or anything like that. So it's the right race for him. Ideally, I would love if it was left-handed. I would really fancy him as left-handed, but he just has to take his chance and go on it. We've another horse running in the maiden hurdle. He's okay. He'll find his level somewhere along the way. He's a homebred. The owner sent him to us, and he's a Grand Straight Forward horse. And then we have a couple of runners during the week in Dundalk. So yeah, again a mixed batch between flat and jump. Looking forward to the spring.
Yeah, no rest. But sure, you wouldn't have it any other way. Ross, great to have you back with us.
Wouldn't have it any
Thanks
other way.
a million, Ross.
Yeah, brilliant to have you with us.
Thanks, lads. Thanks, Ger. Thanks, Johnny.
That's
Thanks very
great
much.
stuff there from Ross Sullivan, trainer, and just some really interesting stories. If you want to get in touch with us and you're listening on the radio this evening, 53106 is the text number. We'll be back after this.
Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie. Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie.
It says Johnny first, Danny Mullins second, and me third is the established order
the graphic
of things
there
in the tote 10 to follow as we await the Dublin Racing Festival to hopefully shake things up. You're 200. So you've got 253 points. I have 100. No, I've got 142.
Lead in the polls at the moment.
It's about that. Yeah. Are you going to devil
I
lock
have the
this?
answer to the housing crisis.
I hope so. And the health.
And health.
Take the screws out.
Yeah. That's a
Eddie's prison reference, but
that's a decent lead, to be fair. But it's been a bit of fun. Apparently, actually, in the overall standings, I'm doing relatively well.
15,000, I think, was it?
I think I'm in the top 6% or something like that.
Okay.
Which the only way is down, I suppose. But
that's an A-rated. Yeah,
a lot better.
An
than
A-star. Do they do A-star?
A lot better than my flat performance. Ross is, I think, the most enthusiastic trainer we've had on in a long time. I think Ted Walsh, his father-in-law, is rubbing off on him. I remember when Ted was in. It's actually one of the most memorable ones we had, where he started welling up talking about like Comanche Court and all that. But Ted's a gregarious character, and Ross's enthusiasm was amazing there. Just a lot of people, I think a lot of trainers can be kind of down on their luck when things aren't going well, but he's extremely positive, like, to be fair.
Well, obviously at the start of a really successful period last year, was very successful on both the flat and the over jumps, and by their standards, I think it was double digit winners on both, and it was like massive leap forward in terms of progress. So you'd feel very excited that like all that hard work, so a decade of hard work and 5 years of investment into your purpose built gallops, you start to turn a corner, and just listening to it, it's like very humble in terms of, I don't know everything. I thought there was a period of time where I didn't know, and so therefore, when you open your mind like that, then everything becomes a learning experience. You would be enthusiastic because there is so much to learn.
Totally. I do believe trainers when they say they've never actually figured it all out. Like, even when they pass away, they're still learning right up until the end. And like, what's the beauty of that is the two horses that the listed winners, like these, he doesn't have access to expensive horses. So I do think when you're a trainer and you have that one horse, it's like life itself. If you have something to look forward to, it can keep you going through the bad days. And when you have one horse that's particularly good, she will sustain you when times are maybe not as good.
And even the fact that the horse that brings them such success is a horse that they've seen and developed and evolved and gone to the sales and bought.
It was like Charlie Carter last week. To have the dam and then to keep her for 20 years, I think Charlie said she died as a 21-year-old. That's the beauty of racing. It's part of your family pretty much at that stage. It's not like Man City buying the best player for 100 million. It's like getting the player when he was a kid and nurturing him along and so on. And
it's not selling Jack Grealish.
It's not selling Jack Grealish, yeah.
Friday Night Racing is brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. So I want to tell you exactly about this. Johnny is first, Danny Mullins is second, and I'm third in the tote 10 to follow. We're obviously waiting for the Dublin Racing Festival. That's my last chance to maybe shake things up before we get to Cheltenham. The Dublin Racing Festival will see 2 bonus point races, which is the Paddy Power Irish Gold Cup and the Chanel Pharma Irish Champion Hurdle. All 3 of our stables feature Champion Hurdle favourite Honeysuckle, so it's going to come down to whoever's the Gold Cup winner really. Racing this weekend is at Fairyhouse and Punchestown, and you can play the tote jackpot on both race meetings, either at the racecourse or on tote.ie. Visit tote.ie to avail of the tote guarantee on all Irish and UK racing. The watering of the course was one of the big stories this week. It sounds like they're doing absolutely everything they can, but like, it's race course versus Mother Nature, really.
That's it. I was always of the opinion, more or less, that you went along with whatever the weather gave you, and you didn't, because I was like,
they're not a business for us in trying to find the best good ground horses and buying them up.
Well, my attitude would be, there's enough. My attitude going along was like, there's enough soft ground for these horses. Don't be overwatering to compensate. But like that, unfortunately, that's just not valid anymore. Like Leopardstown, like if you go back to, was it remember the start of the lockdown, which was like 2 decades ago. The start of the lockdown last year, we had a heat wave, and we had. I think since records began in the Phoenix Park, they'd never seen a drought like it, and everyone was like basking in the beautiful warm weather. But that was alarming, and that's evidence of like just Dublin is becoming a lot drier. And for Leopardstown in particular, it's not so much of an issue on the west coast. Like, so Limerick would have still been heavy enough for Christmas. It's very difficult for the Leopardstown clerk at the course to know, because it's not as simple as just watering the night before either. Like, it's
to different months.
It's not National Hunt Ground is not like, oh well, it rained a couple of days. National Hunt Ground should effectively involve like a good bit of rain periodically going into each meet, like, and I don't know, anecdotally, I live in Dublin, it doesn't rain much anymore, it really doesn't, and that's a problem for Leopardstown, and there's no easy answer to it.
Except us buying up all the good ground horses.
Well, if you're going down that route, I would say the embryonic National Hunt chaser who wants soft ground might be in trouble going forward, because the soft ground is not going to be there as much going forward, simple as.
All right.
I must give a selection as well for tomorrow. I think if you are having a wager tomorrow, a horse called Autumn Crusade is worth a very, very nice each way bet if you can get 4 each way places or whatever. Anyway, have a good bet on Autumn Crusade, the 308. The Fairy House.
A Fairy House.
Trained by, we had Freewheeling Dylan's trainer on, Darren McLaughlin, after winning the National. That was during lockdown at some stage anyway, but very good trainer, and this horse is a great chance, I think. It's going to be a good price as well.
Stephen Kisby Green, our resident South African, has just put into our team chat here, says, I don't know where in Dublin Johnny lives, but it's been raining a lot by my standards here. He is from South Africa, so it obviously never rains there.
I don't know, does it rain in Dublin anymore?
Well, not this week and not last week.
It rained Christmas Day badly. Like you get a lot of flash rain.
One other day in January, and that was it.
It's really, really alarming, and we're probably screwed. But anyway, that's not a great way to end the show.
Happy New Year, Johnny. We're probably
screwed.
Friday Night Racing is brought to you on Off the Ball by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie. We'll see you next Friday at 3 o'clock on all of OTB's social channels, and of course at 8 o'clock on Off the Ball on Newstalk. Take care.
Friday Night Racing
On Off the Ball.
brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie.